Our next speaker is Mary Pierce. So Mary's been an advocate with Alpha-1 since 1987 when she was diagnosed with Alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency or severe emphysema. Her husband, Todd, and Mary went to work right away trying to figure out how she could maintain her health and her nutrition and really keep her as fit as possible so that she could get the lung transplant that the doctors told her that she was going to need. And that research really spilled over into their lives, into all the efforts, and it's the reason that she's here today to talk about her expertise in the area of nutrition. In 1993, just a couple years after I was born, Mary received a double lung transplant and able to breathe again for the first time in a very long time. Mary went out and did something that kind of solidified why I became such a huge part of this and so many others. She started some Team Alpha-1 with the focus to take everything that she learned and all her passion for improving the lives of alphas everywhere and keeping them fit and letting them know that whatever they can do today is enough, and to always keep moving towards maintaining your quality of life and improving it and staying as healthy as possible. Hopefully that you could stave off transplant, but certainly so you could do the work and ready yourself for whatever came next in your Alpha-1 journey. Mary is an incredible patient advocate. She participated in the transplant games and actually came home with a number of medals, a gold medal in cycling. And she's always been there for the Alpha-1 community. She rode with a fellow patient, Shirley Dennis, across the country from Seattle to where we were, Washington, D.C., to raise awareness for Alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency. Not too many people can say that. She was an AlphaNet coordinator for 9 years, and she's currently director of the program at Dohmen Life Science Services, and manages all the advocates that talk to you on a monthly basis if you're on that augmentation therapy. She lives with her husband Todd in a great little place in Michigan with their grandson or grand dog Hoover. So Mary Pierce.
Thanks, Ken. First, a disclaimer. I don't have a degree in nutrition. I'm not a doctor. I'm not medically trained in any way. And I want you to consider that nothing I say is medical advice. Everything that I share with you today is things that my husband and I learned from the time that I was first diagnosed right up until today. We're information junkies, but I believe that all alphas need to collect information. And actually, I'm singing to the choir because everybody here is here because you want information. So take it for what it's worth, and I will tell you, consider things that everybody says, but always make your own decisions, including what I say. Anything I tell you is related to what has happened with me and things that I've learned about my own body and the way I react to various nutrition. And then before you make any major changes in your diet and exercise program, talk to your doctor and also to your respiratory therapist. The respiratory therapists are instrumental in keeping us healthy, and I think that they are really good coaches in all aspects of dealing with Alpha-1. So if you don't have one on your team, find a respiratory therapist locally, bring them to your support group, or just get to know them and use their resource. Use what they know about helping us stay alive and stay healthy. Most people that know me now only know me looking like a healthy, normal person. And this is a picture not long after I had my double lung transplant, and from then on I was pretty healthy, and I'll talk a little bit about that. Most of the people who know me this way never knew me this way, and I don't know if you can see it, but the shoulder bones, I was so thin by the time I finally got diagnosed. I was a walking skeleton. I was really thin. I had been seeing a multitude of doctors. I was getting lung infections, the same as probably half the people in this room, on a regular basis from age 30 to 40. None of the docs that I saw. In fact, one of them was the doctor that was treating my father with COPD. They maybe took an x-ray and gave me antibiotics, possibly an expectorant of some kind, and sent me home. We finally got a new family doctor for a whole family. And he took one look at me, took my history, asked about my family, and he said, I think there's a reason that you're getting sick all the time. I'm going to do this test. You probably don't have it, and I heard that 3 or 4 times already this weekend, but I'm going to test you. He called me on my 40th birthday, 1987. He says, you've got alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency, and I said, gee, would you spell that? I don't know what that is. You've got severe COPD. My FEV1 was 14% at that point. That was the first pulmonary function test I'd had. And I'll show you a copy of the test, although you won't be able to read it. He also told me that the FDA had just approved a therapy for alpha-1 deficiency, and maybe I could get started on that real soon. And the fourth thing he told me was that they're starting to do lung transplants. 1987, there hadn't been that many lung transplants done. But by learning those 4 things, my husband and I left his office, or actually I hung up the phone because I was on the phone with him, and I thought, whew, now I know what's going on. I'd been, like a lot of alpha-1 patients, I was denying or pretending everything was okay. I'd grown up in a family that smoked. I'd been a smoker for a number of years, and I figured I had done it to myself. It's called the shame and blame game. I was ashamed, and I really didn't want anybody to know that I couldn't breathe. So, I'd hide out in bathrooms and airports. I would stop and look in store windows, anything I could do to avoid having to walk and keep up with people who were walking faster than I was. Finally, I had a cause for it. I could say, okay, it's not just totally what I did to myself. This is adding to what's going on. And now we have an enemy. We have something that, and I will say we through all of this because my husband has been with me in this battle. And he was going to come, but he got sick the day before we left. And those of you who know Todd, he's as, and maybe more involved than I am sometimes. But we set out at that point to learn everything we could about alpha-1 deficiency, about lung disease, about nutrition, about exercise. You can't read it, but if you look at the top, it says 105 pounds. By then, I'd gained 6 pounds. This is the pulmonary test that the pulmonary doc ordered a month later after I was diagnosed. I'd already gained 6 pounds from the time my doctor told me, but you can see, if you can see it, FEV1 of 14%, diffusion capacity of 38%. I was a pretty sick puppy, and I'd been just pretending everything was okay. He sent me to a pulmonary doctor, and again, 1987, alpha-1 wasn't very well known. The pulmonary doctor looked at me, and I said, gee, what can I do? Because we'd already done a little homework. It's been a month. I was looking at nutritional articles, lung disease. I searched everything, lung disease and nutrition and alpha-1, anything I could think of. And there's no available information in 1987, no patient information. I was going through medical journals at the local college library, and every sentence had 5 words I had to look up. So we struggled to get what we knew, but I knew by then, a month after my diagnosis, that there was something I could do with nutrition to make myself a little healthier and stronger, and also that I could do some exercise. So going back to this doctor appointment with my pulmonologist, I said, okay, what can I do? What can we do nutritionally and with exercise to help this get better? And if you've already read this, he said you've got a chronic, inherited, ultimately fatal lung disease, and there's nothing I can do. Well, he was right on the first 2 points. It's chronic and it's inherited. On the last, I'm not so sure. It doesn't have to be ultimately fatal. We'll talk about some things that we can all do to kind of help things improve our quality of life. And also, he called it a lung disease, and it's really a lung and a liver disease, which we know. And obviously, there was nothing he could do. That was correct, because we never went back to see him. Ultimately, I found a physician that I could partner with, had a respiratory therapist, put my team together. And I will caution all of you to go into your doctor's appointments knowledgeable, know what your questions are, and maybe know ahead of time what the answers probably should be. And if you are not able to get what you need, if you feel as if your doctor's not listening to you, our God-given right is to get a second opinion or a third opinion. We need to be a partner with our medical team. And this is some of the things that we can do for yourself. Dr. Atkinson mentioned some of this morning, but I'm a real proponent for taking charge of our own medical care. Education and support, you're here, you don't need me to tell you that. Educate and support everybody else. Our goal sometimes is to go in and help educate our doctors. Take responsibility for doing what you can to improve your health. Make behavior choices, job choices, the things that may improve what's going on later. If you're a hairdresser, if you're in a business where you're exposed to a lot of environmental things, or, well, if you're smoking, absolutely don't do that anymore. And that's a hard thing to quit. Genetic counseling is available to anybody, and you may need to do that for your family too. If you test your family members, encourage them to call a genetic counselor if they have issues and questions that you can't answer. And understand your insurance. I can't explain that or stress that more than I am, but there's help available. The Alpha One Foundation has a great worksheet, and they have help available. Whoever your provider is, therapy or the hospital or wherever you're working, they all have good insurance people that can help with insurance. But basically, you need to take a look at that plan and figure out really basically what your benefits are and know ahead of time so mistakes don't happen. And then augmentation therapy and lung transplant. That's the majority of things that people say we can do. I believe that we can manage the details. Those are the things your grandmother told you. Wash your hands. And I mean the 20-second hand wash, saying happy birthday twice, and then your hands are clean, right? Avoid sick people, vaccinations, exercise, stay busy, stay engaged in your life. Water. Drink half your body weight in ounces in water, or more. And I mean, you can maybe tea, maybe something else, but avoid the sweet drinks. Don't count those as water because they don't count. And they're finding more and more about sleep. And if you think that you're not sleeping well, talk to your doctor about the possibility of getting a sleep study. We know that if people don't get enough rest and don't get enough sleep, it can cause high blood pressure, it makes their brain cells shrink. There's just a ton of things that will happen if you're not getting enough sleep. And then eat. That's really the topic that we're here to talk about today. Aim for your ideal body weight, whatever that happens to be. And for everybody, it's different. And I have to say at this point, most of what I know is about lung disease. If you're dealing with liver issues and liver disease, please talk to your doctor before you change anything in your diet or take any supplements or any of that. And I should have said that in the beginning. But one thing physicians learned during World War II, there were a group of physicians in the Warsaw Ghetto. They were Jewish physicians, and they started observing what was happening among themselves and the people that they were taking care of. And it's a sad story, but as these people starved to death, they began to develop emphysema. And the physicians did autopsy on each other and discovered that malnutrition can cause emphysema. The other reverse side of it is, and I know that you all know somebody that's lost a lot of weight, like that early picture of me, lung disease can cause malnutrition. So if you add lung disease and you add malnutrition, they both increase the number of exacerbations that we get, and they also increase our mortality. So the goal is to keep your ideal body weight, your body mass index, above 20. I mean, from the beginning, I was reading everything I could about Alpha 1, and it said if your weight loss goes below a certain point, your mortality rate has gone up a lot. Your exacerbation rate goes up. So nobody wants to go here. And I have, actually, a lot of my talk is talking about the people who are losing weight, who are ultra thin and dealing with lung disease, because they're at the biggest risk, the most critical risk. But then the people with a BMI over 40, they also face a risk. Their risk, from what I've discovered, is more cardiovascular, and their mortality is higher than usual too. So the goal is to stay within this yellow and green range, where, I don't know, body mass index from 25 to 30 is considered overweight, and normal 18 to 25. It'll vary for men and women, but the bottom line is that I think we all know what our good body weight is, and we should aim at that. If we're too overweight or too underweight, our risks are a little bit higher. And you can find this, I just picked this off the internet. If you want to know more about ideal body weight, just take a look and see what you can find. You can measure your own, or get help from your respiratory therapist or your doctor. Problem is that we learn all kinds of things. I mean, opinions about nutrition and science is moving forward, but everybody has an opinion. It's like going to church or voting for a political candidate. Everybody kind of has their opinion and what they learned about alpha-1. Carbs are good. No, carbs are bad. Fats are good. No, fats are bad. What about protein? What should I eat? Well, I'll have some suggestions, but again, listen to your body, pay attention when you eat to how you feel while you're eating that meal. If you start getting short of breath, take a look at your plate and see what's on it. Evaluate how much you ate. Your respiratory therapists always say eat 5 meals a day, which means spread the calories out through the day so that you get the maximum benefit and you're not filling your belly up too much. And I think most people with lung disease believe that they can't breathe after they've eaten a meal because their belly's full, and it's kind of forcing their lungs to not have a full excursion, full ability to breathe. The other thing that can happen is if you're eating things that enter your system really quick with a lot of sugar and carbs that don't have much value, but they're high in, or have a high glycemic index, they can cause excess carbon dioxide. And in order to get rid of that, you have to breathe harder and faster. So I would pick up a full plate of food. I mean, I'd be starving, and I'd pick up my plate, and I would only be able to take a few bites because the CO2 was building up, and I just didn't have the energy to eat. And if you think about it, your body's got to breathe. You're spending a lot of energy getting the shoulders up. I mean, if you're breathing with your shoulders, but getting the air in and out. Your body's using calories. And in addition to that, if you put a big load of food in there, your body has to pay attention to what's going on in there. So it kind of pulls the energy from one place to another, makes it hard. So the goal is eat enough, but not too much. And then what is right for you? And this is just a collection of books that I pulled together off our bookshelves. And I will tell you, we have probably 12 to 15 feet worth of books that my husband and I have read through the years. You can see there's a variety of things. There's a book on fats. There are 2 books from a guy named Barry Sears called The Zone. South Beach diet's there. Paleolithic diet would probably be there. They all have a little different slant. The majority of them suggest lower carbs, not totally eliminating them, but reduce, and I'll show you what the good carbs are in my opinion and the bad carbs. A little more fat. We don't always get enough essential fatty acids in our diet. They also recommend taking enough antioxidants and anti-inflammatories. And in terms of the antioxidants, they know, and I can't give you all of them, but vitamins A, C, E, and fish oil all provide good antioxidants, and some of those are anti-inflammatory. D also, did I say D? D's a good one. And then the B vitamins. And I believe that you can have lab tests, certainly for the B vitamins, and my mind just went blank, and the D. And since we live in a northern climate, I mean, I'm from Michigan, we don't get a lot of sunshine throughout the year. So I know my D levels are low, and I've never really had them checked, but my physician is kind of tracking it. She hasn't checked it, but she's giving me a little supplementation. So find out from your doctor. But basically, there's a lot to be learned. Go to the library, pick a book out that seems to make sense to you, and see what happens when you follow a particular regimen. You don't want to look like either one of these guys. And I'm sorry for that beer bottle. That was just in the clip art that I got. And I don't know why that's there either. I was thinking that a lot of the way we metabolize food and vitamins is because of our genetics, our family tree. So you might have a little different metabolism than I do when it comes to Vitamin B especially. Some people are low in vitamin Bs. There are like 4 or 5 of them. They know a deficiency in folate can cause birth defects. So depending on what you've inherited in your genes, your reaction to various foods might be different. These are just, you really need to get rid of the junk in your diet. That little pastry was something my husband ate when we went to Barcelona for the annual conference in Europe last year, but wasn't the best thing. This is indication of the sugars that we get. Sugar is probably our worst enemy. I mean, there's just plain sugar, there's M&Ms, there's pasta, orange juice. If you're going to eat any kind of fruit, the sugar in the juice is pretty concentrated. Go for the whole fruit. Eat an orange, eat an apple. And then even among the fruits, some of them are higher in antioxidants and higher in fiber. You need to get the fiber because that tends to slow the sugar down a little bit. So those things I would say, if I could draw one of those red circles with a line on it, I would do it on that. Even cranberries, these are sweetened. If you look at the amount of sugar in those things, it's really high. This is a earlier presentation. I didn't intend to have this one, but this is the road food we were eating on the Cape Cod bike ride. And none of it, well, maybe the Kind Bar is, but look, it's Jolly Rogers and Milky Ways, all terrible things. And then the good carbs. In terms of the bad carbs, anything white rice, white bread, all the sugars, all of that stuff is probably something that anybody with lung disease wants to avoid because it enters your system really fast. And then people say, I'm on a low-carb diet, but these are good things for us. I mean, think of anything that grows in the ground, broccoli, Brussels sprouts. Potatoes are loaded with potassium, although you need to be careful not to eat too many. Spinach, sprouts, we know instinctively what we should be eating. If you're a vegetarian, you always want to, use brown rice, and then the next slide has some beans on it. But again, even the bottled wine back there and the beer, the bottled wine, as long as it's in moderation, what did the doctor say earlier, 1 glass per day? It's full of resveratrol and a lot of antioxidants and some good things in a glass of wine, not to mention that it can make you feel a little better. Almond milk, if you have a sensitivity to milk or milk products, is always a good substitute. Applesauce, so you can just see. If you're using a sweetener, honey is probably one of the better sweeteners to use. And this is supposed to be an example of protein, but I didn't have any chicken or meat there, but chicken and meat. Eggs used to be the enemy, and now we know that they're not so bad. They've got protein, they've got fat in them. String cheese is something I carry around as a snack, and that's something that all of us need to do if we're going to try and eat 5 meals a day. Have a snack that you can pull out of your pocket and eat. And the string cheese, you can get it with fat in it if you need to add a few extra calories, or if you can get it without fat, which is protein, which is a good bunch of protein. So a handful of string cheese and some nuts or tuna, it's a pretty good snack. Avocados are great. They're full of great essential fatty acids. Pizza, not so bad. If you're trying to gain weight, add another 100 or so calories with every tablespoon of fat you take in. If you're trying to lose weight, pizza's not so bad, but have a salad first so you're not so full. And enjoy what's in front of you. This is one of our favorite pizza spots in Michigan. It's really good. I get it now with a gluten-free crust because I try to keep the bread out of my diet. So the crust is really thin, and my husband actually scrapes it off. He just eats the top part. But you can get it loaded with veggies, so not so bad. These are the good fats. Example of good fats, there's coconut oil, which has come back into play. It used to be considered not that good. Sunflower, walnut oil, peanut butter. If you buy peanut butter, get natural, without sugar added. Actually, you can just make your own if you want. You can throw the peanuts or the almonds or whatever in whatever food processor you have and make your own, and then you know what's in it. Bowl of nuts, the avocados there again. Those are all good fats. Olive oil. One of the ways that I was gaining weight was to throw, a little bit of olive oil. I'd make a smoothie and throw, spinach and oranges and Yogurt's another good thing if you are not lactose intolerant, but yogurt is extremely good because it's got the probiotics and kind of helps your gut stay normal. I found a way to make my own, and boy, it's really good, and I just have like a cupful in the morning, and everything seems to work really well. These are just more mayonnaise. I mean, again, a tablespoon of any of these on, a couple, 3, 4 times a day is going to add you. If you're trying to add 100 calories every time you take a tablespoon of some of this, and they're all pretty good for you. If you're trying to lose weight, then you do need a certain amount of the ones on that first page, avocados, nuts, that kind of stuff. But just be careful that you're not taking in too many calories. We had a friend who moved to Salt Lake City. He was 6'5", and I think when I met him, he weighed about 130 pounds. And we had a nutrition discussion at the local support group, and he realized he really had to make a difference. He started taking cod liver oil straight. He used whole whipping cream in his cereal and in his coffee. He added calories wherever he could. And fat calories are much more dense. So if you take in fat calories, they metabolize slower, and you can get more bang for your buck. A handful of nuts, for example, or a handful of avocado, it's got a lot more energy in it than a handful of white bread or potatoes or something else. So if you're trying to gain, that's a way to do it. And take your a multivitamin. These are probiotics, just acidophilus or something. It's not a bad idea to add those if you're not eating yogurt, or even if you are, add these daily. Add a good multivitamin, good multimineral, and then pay attention. If your doctor does your labs and you're low on vitamin B or D or C or whatever they're advising, just be sure you get enough nutrients. Coffee's really good. It has a lot of antioxidants in it. And this is one of the things I did all the time. I put my breakfast in a glass. I was so tired in the morning, and when I'm fixing dinner, it really takes a lot of energy, so I just threw whatever I had. I'd open the refrigerator and throw whatever I had in the blender, and then I'd drink it all day. And if I needed the extra calories, I'd throw in some olive oil or walnut oil or avocado. Just be creative. They can be pretty tasty. Coffee again. And that's pretty ugly, but on this table, actually the hamburger's not too bad. I would take the bun off of it, eat it with a fork with lots of veggies on it, maybe some cheese. French fries probably aren't the greatest because they're fried, but potatoes, like I said, have a lot of potassium, so they're not the bad guy. I think the worst thing on the table there is that Minute Maid lemonade. And I told my husband, I said, you really should stop that because you're taking a lot of extra calories, and he's a really big guy. I said, just get club soda because it's a great substitute for something like this. It gives you a little fizz. This is almond bread that I made. I am trying to keep all the white flour and bread and everything out of my diet, so I found a recipe for almond flour bread. It's quite tasty, and the rest of the things on that plate, eggs, salsa, beans. If you're a vegetarian, combine the beans and the brown rice, and you get almost a complete protein. But that's a pretty good meal for an alpha. And the last piece is eat when you can. When we were on the big ride, one of the things they told us was eat when you can, sleep when you can, and use the bathroom when you can, because you don't know when the next opportunity for all of those is going to come. And that is what I have to say today. Do you guys have any questions? I'm glad you asked that. I do. I take fish oil supplements, and one of the physicians that Todd and I met early on, who was studying the effect of essential fatty acids with cystic fibrosis kids, told me at one point, even after transplant, that I should probably take 9 grams of fish oil a day. It's one of the best anti-inflammatories. If you want to take cod liver oil, that's fine. Be sure it's good purified fish oil. Make sure it's a brand that works. It's a great anti-inflammatory. There was another thing I wanted to say about fish oil, but...
You just said make sure it's a brand that works.
I'm sorry. Check the way it's refined. It'll say on the, I don't even know how to evaluate fish oil. I tend to figure if I pay more for it, I'm getting a better product. The Dr. Barry Sears guy that wrote the Zone, he had his own brand for a while, and his opinion was that you triple refine it and make sure it's from, there's no mercury and none of that stuff in it. But some of them will come back on you, and some don't. You can almost tell by taking one brand versus another. But again, you're the best judge. You're the one, if you're sitting down to dinner or breakfast, watch how you're breathing, see what's going on with that. If you're okay and you're still hungry, eat. But if you start breathing and having issues with your breathing, look at what's on your plate and see if there were a lot of carbs there or if you just ate too much at one time. Right now, I think the recommended daily amount of vitamin C is still down at 60 milligrams. There are arguments in favor of using more vitamin C for people with lung disease. That would be something you need to talk to your dietitian or your doctor about. Oh, vitamin D. 400?
Yeah, I think the most important thing, especially as we deal with the chronic illness, is and one that impacts the liver as well, is to work closely with your physician and know your numbers. I've been all over the map on what they want me to do based on other things that I'm taking and things that leach different elements out of my diet, etc. So you should go in and be pretty knowledgeable about things that you think are going to work. Mary's giving you some great examples that have worked clearly very well for her. I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all, which is the point that Mary made very, very clearly, is know your own body, know what you're reacting well to, and the things that you can absolutely rely on your physician for are some test results. And so we need to be super diligent, and Mary is living proof that works.
Thank you, guys.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Mary.